And now, part 2 of a special masterclass on Appliqué with your hosts, Alex Anderson and Ricky Timms.
Welcome to the Quilt Show, everyone. We're hosting from home. I'm in La Veta, Colorado, and Alex is in Livermore, California. And this time is giving us an opportunity to go back and review over 335 shows and pull together some of the best moments in the Quilt Show history. This particular episode is all about appliqué, and more appliqué.
That's right. You know, sometimes industry-changing tools come along, like the rotary cutter. I remember when that came out. It was fabulous. Who knew it could be so easy to cut things out? Well, that's what Appliqué tools have done for me and many other in the appliqué community. For those of you that can't needle turn, well, Rosa has figured it out. Finished appliqué, painless, easy, and beautiful results.
Absolutely, Alex. And I will tell you, while I do primarily raw edge appliqué with stitching, I have fallen in love with the Appliqué tools too, that were created by Rosa Rojas and Olga in Spain, and we honestly have fallen in love with them. In the next segment, Rosa is going to show us how to use the tools. Olga could not be here with us, but we brought her into the show kind of in spirit, and you'll understand when you watch the segment. Take a look at this.
Okay, so I'm going to show you how to use Appliqué tools. Okay, Ricky. We have two different tools. Appliqué, I want to tell you that Appliqué is a new way and is a new concept to do appliqué. Till now, you know, we worked with our fingers to do appliqué. From now, no more fingers.
No more fingers. Let's look at the tips of these guys and show them what they look like.
Our fingers. We have two different tools. Double point in that one, and a flat.
Right.
And we have, in the other side, we have point and point, two different points.
Right.
Okay. Double point to hold.
Oh, it won't shift. It won't slide if you have both points down. Mm-hmm. Okay.
And the flat, we use the flat to turn the seam allowance. Okay. To turn it.
Okay. Now, what I just noticed is when you got ready to turn it, you went to one point.
Yes.
So that it would pivot.
I can move it.
So you've got that kind of down.
Yeah.
It's like second nature.
It's like my fingers.
Yes. Holding two.
And the flat. You know?
And then one would turn. That's fabulous.
Yeah. It's an extension of our hands.
Okay.
Depending on the shape we want to turn, we have to use the 4 points in combination between them. So we work with 4 different points. To work with Appliqué, we need Appliqué violin. In Europe, we say violin. You say stabilizer. Or fusible.
Now, this is very lightweight, everyone.
Yes.
I'm noticing this is a very delicate. Now, it's not a fusible, although it has fusible. Mm-hmm. This is basically a stabilizer, so you would fuse it, right?
Exactly.
All right.
It's so easy to stitch and easy to quilt because it's very soft. And we need glue stick for fabric. It's washable. When we wash it, it disappears. Okay. Okay. It's a very easy glue to stitch.
To stitch through.
To stitch.
Okay.
You know, sometimes the glues we use
get a little sticky, little tough.
Or they are hard, or they stay in the needle like a gum sometimes.
Okay.
Okay. I'm going to show you how to do this part.
All right.
For you to see how to do a right line more or less and how to do a very closed curve. Okay?
Very good, very good.
As we do normally, we clip in the inside curves. So we clip over here. We use Appliqué tools because Appliqué scissors, because they have a particularity. They are micro-serrated in one side. If you touch over here, you can feel it's a very...
Really micro-serrated.
Yeah, micro-serrated. With your nail is so easy to feel. Can you feel it?
I do feel it, yes.
Very small.
Very small.
2 reasons for this micro-serrated side. One of them, when we cut fabric, you know, with normal scissors, we cut in slides, you know?
Right.
Slides.
Right.
These scissors grips the fabric.
Wow.
So we can cut and we can hold.
Wow. So
important when we want to do.
When you really want to cut really fine things, you really need that fabric to not be slipping.
Yeah.
That's nice. And you're using like a homespun or loose weave fabric right here, which is very impressive.
Yeah, some fabrics like that, this is Japanese fabric or homespun or silk, fray a lot. with these scissors, the cut is very, very clean.
Look at that. Very
You see?
nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
So you've got the tools is what's making this really, really
Yes.
step up the game.
Yes, all our tools are surgical steel. Everything is
Why
surgical.
are they surgical steel?
Because we wanted a very high quality material. Some people has allergies, and so we wanted.
So no
a very
nickel
high-
plating. It's
No.
a surgical steel, highest
It's surgical
quality.
steel.
Very good.
So we can operate someone.
Don't operate on me, please.
No, not yet.
Not yet. Not yet.
And we have these scissors. We have two different scissors. These scissors are micro-serrated, 2 in one side and 3 holes in a hook.
Sure.
Normally we hold the scissors. Why this shape? Normally we hold the scissors in this way, you know? So
Right.
we have tension over here and
Right.
tension over here.
Yes.
So we have tendinitis, carpal tunnel, you know.
Yes.
The scissors we hold in this way. Our pinky in the hook. 1, 2,
No
3,
way.
4,
Oh, wow.
and 5. All our 5 fingers hold the scissors. So we
Can
have
I
no
try
tension.
that? I've never seen that before in my life. So you're saying pinky here,
Yes.
3, and this goes.
Yes.
Oh my gosh!
Try.
I just got goosebumps.
You know when
seriously.
when we noted when we cut a curve is when we do more tension with our hand. Cut a curve,
Okay,
please.
okay.
Ricky.
Cut a curve. Here we go.
A curve. I want you to feel your hand is totally relaxed
Yeah, it is.
with these scissors,
Wow.
and you can feel the micro-serrated side too.
Okay, now see, she didn't even tell me she was going to make me do that in the break, so I'm really impressed. Fabulous. That's wonderful.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to show you now
Yes.
how to use Appliqué tools. Okay?
All right. Now you've got a notebook there, I see.
From now,
And you're going to be working on a notebook.
yes, I work in a notebook for a simple reason. I apply the glue in this side and then I work in the other one, so my pieces always are clean.
Okay.
Okay? From now, no fingers.
No fingers. No fingers.
Our fingers. And now, we apply the glue on the similar ones. The color of the glue, don't worry about it because this appears in a few minutes. It's only for we to see where we apply it. Okay,
I see. So the glue, the color of the glue goes away.
yeah, it goes away.
Okay.
And now
Nice.
we
And-
change.
So that if there's any glue over here, it's not going to get on your
Exactly.
fabric.
The glue
Yeah,
stays here
that's very
and
smart.
you work here.
All right. I'm
Double
excited.
point to hold the flat, to turn the similar ones. I'm going to do it slowly, okay?
I put my glasses on because I want to see this. I also noticed that you clipped this curve.
Yes.
Even though it's very subtle. It's not a deep curve at all, but you
No.
still took time to cut that.
Yes. Can you see what I'm doing?
Look at that. Look at that.
Very easy.
Okay, now you got a hard part coming up.
Very
Really,
easy.
really, really difficult right here
Yeah,
at the
but
end.
I want to tell you that it's very important you to use the flat like a brush,
Okay.
okay? If you use it in this way, it doesn't work.
No.
Hold it over here, it's flat, use it flat.
Okay, let's show that one more time. Come over here and
Yes.
show how you're stroking that.
Can you see my hand?
Yes, it's
Can you
just...
see my fingers?
Yeah, they're just...
I'm so delicate. Ricky.
You are? Well,
No.
those are the techniques that
No,
really
that's
make it
for one
work.
reason. If I do that, can you see my hand is tensioned?
Yeah, yes, it is.
And the angle is not good.
Okay,
if I
so-
do that
so
and
you're-
that,
So
totally
you're basically
relaxed.
making an extension
Yes.
of your finger.
An extension of
All
my
right.
fingers. This is very easy. What happens when we are right to the curve? In the curve, point and point,
Oh, okay.
and change.
All right, so you've
And
switched
now
them over.
we have to do little pleats over here.
Look at that.
Little pleats.
All right, now I was all expecting it to take a
when
long
we have
time.
the shape we want, double point to hold, and with the flat, we press like
You're
a
like, it's
little
like a
iron.
iron.
Don't worry if this is not perfect. Can you see the point here?
Yes, yes.
The glue is fresh, and with the point, we can rectify and do it perfect.
Look at that.
So don't worry about that.
Listen to the audience. They're all gasping out there.
Okay. And now again, double point, the flat.
And you know, while you're doing that, I'm sorry, we got quiet for a second because I'm mesmerized. But I'm pointing out that this is one of my designs that you're doing from AccuQuilt has it.
It is.
But the thing that I'm surprised, because I've always said, you know, this is a really difficult design to turn because of these really sharp points that are here.
This is the reason I tried your design, because
you're proving the point that it doesn't have to be raw edge, that it can be turned.
So we have it here. Let me see the light, the shadows.
That's fabulous. Look at that.
Easy. Thank you.
I'm excited.
Thank you.
I'm excited.
Easy, quick, and very neat.
And so you just prepare your applique, and then you're going to apply it by either basting it down, or do you glue it in place? Or
sometimes I glue them for small pieces. For big pieces like that, obviously I baste it.
Right.
We have to baste it.
Yes.
Okay, and then you can stitch it by hand like that.
All right. So these two little sunbonnet sleeves, I'm going to use your applique to point with. These are all stitched by hand.
These are by hand, and the fabric is silk.
Oh.
Yeah.
And look, that's just the swing.
Yeah.
Rope is just one thread, but it's all hand stitched. And then these guys are machine appliqué
with our invisible thread. You have to use our invisible thread in the top, in the bobbin.
Okay.
Both.
So this is the
like any regular
Appliqué invisible thread. That's what that is. And over here with the other one is this is a silk thread, but Appliqué also has a silk thread. And
we manufacture
I'm sure many
everything.
different colors.
We have just 5 different colors. With that colors, you can stitch everything.
Very good.
Yeah.
Now, you've been able to use this technique to do more than just applique. I'm seeing some
Yes, we are.
triangles, and I'm seeing the hexes.
Points, perfect points with applique, you know, and the hexes.
Look at that. And look at these guys. I'm going to bring this over into the playground and just lay this on, because I want everybody, first of all, it is attention to detail. The tool's been doing a great job, but look at this. It's all fussy cuts.
You can play with the printing in the fabrics. So it's funny.
That's great. Now tell me about the tweezers. Are those for doing these tiny little guys?
Yes. The tweezers are for very tiny pieces, for miniatures like that. Do you want to see how to do that?
Yes, I do. As a matter of fact, we've got a couple of minutes to show how these amazingly little tiny
I want to tell you that everybody can do it.
Everybody, I believe in you. Yes, I'm with you.
Everybody. It's easier than you think. We need to do small pieces, miniatures. We need 2 tools.
Look at these
Appliqué tweezers and small scissors.
Okay, that's your tools.
So,
you're taking a little bit of the fusible stabilizer.
And now I am going to cut a little button. Maybe over here is better you to see. And I will show you something.
Just like, oh, mercy, you've gotten so tiny.
Can you see the little button?
I do see how tiny it is, yes.
I want to show you that. I don't lose it.
Look, it's hanging right there on the serration.
This is for the micro-serrated side of the scissors.
Fabulous.
We can cut and we can hold.
All right. Oh. And this very delicate stabilizer is going to shape that little button. Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh my gosh.
Little button.
The audience is out there just like not breathing right now.
I know you're thinking I'm crazy.
Yeah, I am.
I know, I am. Yeah. But I'm very sure when I finish my demo, everybody will think, I can do that.
I can do that.
Yeah.
Can you, while you're doing this, can you tell us a little bit of the story of the lady who you saw at Road to California?
Oh my God. That was a very emotional story, because one lady, when I finished my demo, she wanted to try my tools. And I watched them. She had a jacket, and when she take it out, she had an arm.
A prosthetic arm?
Yes, a
with
prosthetic arm.
A device that would...
With a device.
Like a hook or something.
Like a hook,
yeah.
And then she held the tools, and she could do applique. She was about crying because she told me, Rosa, thank you very much, because now I can do appliqué again.
Oh,
And it was very, very emotional moment.
Yes.
Very emotional moment. Okay, I'm going to apply the glue.
What a gift you gave her.
The gift.
You gave her a gift of your tool and she could do appliqué.
Yes.
That was a gift.
Oh, yes. But
All right, I'm sitting here watching
apply the
this.
glue?
The glue's down, so you've moved to a different place. Get
and
away
now,
to the points.
point and point, okay?
Yep.
And now, we hold the fabric to the center.
Okay.
So we start.
Oh, I really am kind of breathless too watching
Can you
this.
see the time placing all the fabric to the center?
Yes. And there it is.
Oh, I'm so sorry because it's not perfect.
Oh,
I'm so-
I have no doubt that you would fix that.
I'm nervous.
You're
you
not.
know.
No, you're
Yeah.
fine.
You make me nervous.
But
okay.
look, but you would just turn it over
let
and
me tell-
okay.
I can do it perfect.
All
You
right,
can see
here I
that.
go. She's gonna do it.
Let me show you. I'm going to
Yes.
tell you just for you my secret.
Okay, I'm ready to
Okay.
know. I'm ready to know.
This is my secret. Don't
Okay.
tell anybody.
I won't tell anybody. Nobody's
Thank
even
you.
rolling a camera
Thank you.
right now.
This is just parchment paper. Okay? Parchment paper. When the glue is fresh, on the parchment paper,
Okay, stop.
stop.
You want to see what she's about to do, don't you? You're going to have to stay around until we start the next segment. Woo!
Welcome back, everyone. Before we fix this circle, I think Olga wants to stay in the United States with us and not go back with you.
No way,
Okay.
Olga. It's
She's
mine.
yours.
She is mine.
Okay.
Yes.
So let's fix this little circle.
Okay? So, my secret.
Yes.
Parchment paper, any parchment paper, when the glue is fresh on the parchment paper, and with the flat,
Okay.
with this movement inside, like scooping,
Okay.
like a scooping,
Okay.
we can rectify and we can mold it. I want you to see what I'm going to do, okay? Let me show you.
So you're using your finger this round, your finger.
Yes, the wrong side is down,
Okay.
the right side is up, and I just hold the little button. Can you see what I'm doing?
Yes.
I am just molding.
Oh my. Okay.
I just mold it, always inside. Oh, this little button was awful.
And
I was really nervous.
And you have about 2 to 3 minutes to be able to do that?
Yeah, the glue is important. The glue, if the glue dries very fast, we cannot do that. Okay, so the glue is important. When you consider it round.
Look at that. Okay, that's pretty awesome, everyone. Don't you think so? Look at that.
I think now it's round.
Beautiful, beautiful. So let's take a look over here where this is something you're working on right now?
Yes.
Beautiful.
I have a lot of them.
So
on
you quilted this
Yes.
and then put on top of it. Oh, that's wonderful. You have to make a whole lot more of those. A whole lot more.
I have a lot of them for my demos.
Nice.
So I thought I can do something with that. And in the airport, you can see me
Beautiful.
stitching that.
Beautiful.
Oh, we loved having Rosa here so much, and her tools really are remarkable. I'm still remembering when Rosa was looking for her tools and Justin had mistakenly used them as chopsticks
using?
for his lunch.
No?
I'll tell you, Alex, people do need to come get
Justin.
tickets and be in the live studio audience because they do get to see things behind the scenes that you never see on camera. And there's a lot of fun stuff on camera too. I hope you're enjoying our hour of applique because when we come back, we have Sue Garman. Sue Garman has been a friend of the Quilt Show forever, and sadly she's gone from us, but what she shared and left behind is amazing. It's a legacy, and that's coming up right after the break.
If you're doing something where you want it to be exactly precise and symmetrical, I like to take
welcome back, everyone. I know someone's going to ask about the quilt behind me. It is a Dear Jane quilt made by Dana Lynch. Dana was a loyal TQS subscriber and a friend of the Quilt Show. Sadly, she's gone from us now, but I am loving the fact that I get to have her quilt in my life, and I wanted to have it behind me to share with you today in tribute to one of our favorite TQS members.
I know many people miss Dana. She was a beloved part of our community. You know, when Sue Garman passed away in January of 2017, the quilting community was rocked. She was such a legendary pattern designer and lover of applique. She's designed more than a handful of our Block of the Month quilts. So getting to see this segment with Sue in her element, doing what she loved, is both as poignant as informative. Right now, Sue Garman, who has designed our Block of the Month for 08, is going to show us some of her tricks on how you do stems and circles and the things that really are quite signature with what you do. And what we're going to be working on is a block from Lily Rosenberg. This is one of your patterns. Are most of your quilts in pattern form?
Yes, they are.
Okay, and then let's take a look at the block again that actually Ricky spoke about when we looked at the quilt earlier. It's just spectacular. And is it difficult to do?
No, not at all. Very easy.
Great. Well, you also have it in another colorway, and I wouldn't mind showing everybody that just to show that when you are doing somebody's pattern, don't feel tied to doing it exactly how that artist has done it. Look at this. This is just absolutely, let me hold it up to Wayne here. It's just exquisite. So, okay, Sue, spin some magic. I need all the help I can get.
Well, I finished probably up to 20 quilts a year. And I do it because I have figured out all the shortcuts that I can use, and I use them every time. And the first thing that I do when I'm making a quilt of any kind is I look at the pattern and figure out what kind of work can I get done ahead of time, the pre-work. In this case with Lily Rosenberry, I can do berries and I can do stems ahead of time. So I'm going to show you how to do stems really easy, really fast. You use bias bars, and then you take and cut, and the instructions on the bias bars will tell you how to do it. You cut a strip that is, in this case, 3/4 of an inch wide, and you're going to fold it in half, wrong sides together. You're going to stitch down the length of it. So you see I've done that here.
Here, let's just hold this down.
And you're going to fold you're going to stitch 3/16 from the fold, and so you're going to measure from the fold with your needle when you're stitching down the end. When you're finished, you're going to take your scissors and you're going to cut off all of the excess seam allowance and leave yourself a very narrow seam allowance.
Okay, I want to back up to the bias bars though, because there are several different brands on the market. You're partial to this particular kind, right?
I like any of the plastic kind. I do like the metal kind. I don't like the sort of thick ones because it's kind of like if you wanted to press a tube flat around a brick, they're too fat.
Right. And I will tell you that we do have these in the quilt shop if you're interested in getting them. I don't even know, can you even get the metal ones anymore?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
Okay, when you're finished doing all your stitching and all your trimming, you're going to take one of these plastic sticks and you're going to shove it in the tube that you've made and pull it down. And as you do this, you're going to take and twist all of the seam allowance to the back so that you can't see it. So you've got,
That looks good. Let me get that. That's pretty darn clean.
A stem, all the seam allowance is on the back. Then you're going to take your iron, and I just steam it and press it flat, and you'll end up with some perfect stems that you're ready to lay down.
Now you have a pretty cool way of storing your stems.
Now, you can take long strips and do it. And I like to take the swimming pool noodles.
I love these.
And roll it around it, and then you can just stick a pin in to hold them in place.
This is great. I did it on a toilet paper roll, but I think I might step up to the 21st century. Yeah, exactly. Although toilet paper rolls are more abundant in my house.
Okay, so once you get those done, then you're going to make your berries. These are available on the website. They're made by Brandy's, and you get a pack of a bunch of different Mylar templates. They're various sizes, and they're perfectly round. And what you're going to do, in this case, I'm going to make some 3/4 inch berries. I take 3/4 inch circle. I'm going to cut a piece of fabric, and I usually stack it about 8 thick and cut circles that are 1/4 inch bigger all the way around.
Okay, really 1/4 inch for something this small?
Yes, if you're doing smaller than this size, then you're going to cut a narrower seam allowance.
Okay.
Okay? Then what you're going to do is you're going to get a needle and thread, And I've done it in black just so that it shows up.
Okay.
But you're going to make a running stitch around the outside of that circle. You're going to take your
And you have a
mylar-
knot right there,
a
too.
knot at one end, and you're going to leave a tail about 6 inches long. You're going to put your mylar circle in the middle. You're going to draw this up tight, and then see on the other side, you have a perfect circle now.
And then you press it again with steam.
Steam it. You end up with a circle like this.
Okay, but
It's
hold
been
on.
pressed.
What about the spray starch? I use spray starch now.
I have learned through bad experience not to use starch, sizing, anything like that. I found if I just use a good shot of steam, it takes care of it.
And so with the starch, what happens? Do you get little bumps in it and stuff like that?
I've gotten bleeding.
Really?
About 20% of the reds or the dark navies or blacks can bleed. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't use that. It just means that you need to know what you're working with. And if you're going to use starch or Best Press or any of the products that will help stabilize your fabric, you want to make sure that when you're done, you totally rinse it out. 'Cause
Right.
Otherwise, you might have bleeding if it gets wet later
Now,
on.
I have another question. I have found that there are fabrics that are stubborn. And actually, when I was working on my block of the month that you've designed for us, some fabrics were very stubborn.
If you're going to use a coarse fabric, it's harder to make a smaller circle. So use a very fine finish. Batiks are wonderful, or just the regular quilting fabrics. Okay, once you've pulled it tight and steamed it, I kind of let it set, and then you're going to loosen that, just pull it open, take your circle out, take your thread and draw it back up again, and then you've got your circle, and then you can
Look at
just
this. This is like
sort of start storing these as you're making 1,000 of them for Lily Rosenberry.
Exactly.
Okay.
Oh, man.
So we've got all those done. And then the next thing I do is when I'm working with a quilt that has to be perfectly symmetrical, I like to ink all of my applique pieces. If you're doing a quilt that, say, has a snowman, it doesn't matter if he tilts a little to one side or is a little fatter or skinnier. But if you're doing something where you want it to be exactly precise and symmetrical, I like to take and make a template out of plastic.
Do you care what, I mean, I know there's heat resistant and non-heat
It
resistant.
doesn't need to be heat resistant.
Okay, great.
I will take my fabric, lay this on it, take a Pigma pen or any kind of
Sue, this is
permanent
just like...
pen, ink right around the edge of, oops, I just inked myself. And then I've got my template here, and then I go ahead and cut it out, and I go ahead and do the clips on the inside curves.
All right, I want to
And
take
now
a look at that.
I have all my pieces ready to lay down on a block.
So do you clip exactly to the line or a hair before you get to the line?
Probably 2 or 3 threads short of the line.
Okay.
And that way, I'm ready to start sewing. All I have to do is put them down on my block.
So you're telling me you do this stuff needle turn?
Yep. I don't even know how to fuse.
Fusing is a bad word.
Okay, next thing that you're going to do, take your pattern like this, put it on a light box, and trace. And I usually go ahead and mark, and I've marked this with a white chalk pencil where my stems are, and then I can go ahead and take my stems and take my glue, and I use the
Roxanne?
Roxanne's
It's your little one, yes.
the Roxanne's glue, and I can
love
go
that
ahead
stuff.
and and the secret to using this stuff is to use a tiny, tiny bit. You don't want to have enough that it bleeds through or makes a hard lump. So I'm talking, when I talk tiny bit, I'm talking maybe 3 dots that size.
Okay. How, like every 1/16 of an inch type deal?
Oh, no. Well, on a stem you might.
Yes.
But on a flower, you might put 3 on the whole flower. Okay, so in this case, I'm going to go, and because it does twist a little bit, I want to make sure that I get it in place. So I'm going to put it right along the line here.
It's water soluble, right?
Totally. And then I'm just going to press it, and it really only takes maybe 10 seconds of sitting there, and now to go ahead and clip that off.
Sure.
But now I'm ready to start sewing, and I'll lay them all out. And if you don't know where to lay them out, and if you haven't put pencils down, then you can make an overlay. I've made mine using the view graph overlays and just tape them together.
I don't know what that is.
View graph, they're overhead machines.
Okay.
Overhead projectors.
Okay,
It's
like in
just
the
clear
olden
plastic.
days, like when we were in school?
Yeah, like
Okay,
old time,
the teacher
old
would
time.
write on it?
Or
All right.
you can trace your pattern onto a piece of vinyl, or you can trace it onto a slit open Ziploc bag, whatever
All right.
you want. Okay, and that way you know where to place your pieces on your block.
man.
So I usually go ahead on a block like this, and I lay down almost all the pieces that I can on all the blocks.
Okay, now
And then-
I'm understanding why mine's taking 3 months to do 1 block, and you can do 1 block in about 30
I'm
seconds.
not picking up and putting down lots of pieces. Okay, when I get these all done, I can roll these up on my swimming pool noodle, stick a
Isn't
pin
that
in it,
great?
and carry it with me.
That is
And I
just
don't end up with
great.
the folds.
Yeah, I love it.
So in this case, I've got a lot of it appliqué down. I still have some berries to appliqué. I still have some flowers here, 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 and here to do. But when I'm done, I've got all of these blocks, and they're ready to put together.
Now,
And
what
so,
kind of thread do you use?
I use a 60 weight 2-ply cotton thread.
Really? Not silk or bottom line or something like that with Libby Lehman's polyester?
No, I don't.
Right on. And then
just
you
use
match
the
it to
cotton.
whatever the color
Match
is.
the thread color,
Okay.
put it down.
I just think this is exquisite.
And you can play around, like Ricky was showing you earlier, you can play around and decide which way you want your secondary pattern to show up. So you can play around with your blocks.
Do you love this? Yeah.
I have to say, while Sue has shared a lot of applique techniques, one of the takeaways I have is how many uses there are for a swimming pool noodle in the quilting world. Isn't that great, Alex?
It's crazy.
Well, Sue's company continues, her legacy continues. You can find her patterns and her work at comequilt.com.
Well, stay right where you are because up next is Sue Nichols, who's heading straight for the border. Her applique borders, that is.
Welcome back, everyone. If you know the work of Sue Nichols, something will come to mind in the way of her very unique style of feathers and flowers. Well, in this segment, she's going to take it to the borders.
Now, one of the things that we are going to do in this segment is talk about how you do your flower garden borders, right?
Yes, that's right.
But what I'm interested in you telling our people is, what do they do when they're wanting to find designs and they don't know how to design it themselves?
Well, I think design is easier than anybody thinks. It's a little bit of an intimidating word, but I use the early quilts as inspiration. I love the old quilts and the beautiful applique borders on a lot of the 1800s quilts.
So let's look at some of this. This is an 1800s quilt, right?
And it has a beautiful basket border on the bottom that I used as inspiration for the border on New York State of Mind. So you can see it's similar, but it's not an exact copy. I don't go to the copy store and copy that down. I just use it for my inspiration.
Sure, you can make a lot of similarities without doing it exactly the same.
Right.
All right, and then here's another one. So here's
a little bit simpler design, but a really, really great what I call vine-based border, which is what my borders are.
Right.
And the quilt Pink Tulips on Blue Skies, this border is what was inspired by this one.
Oh, this one right here.
Yeah, this one right here.
Right, I see that.
It doesn't look exactly the same, but it has similarities, and it gave me a start. It gave me a starting place.
Well, and also, because we looked at this quilt in the first segment, the other 3 bars could be borders. You've used them as the body of the quilt, but they could easily be done
Oh,
in
definitely.
borders.
And I often do borders that go around a quilt, which is what a lot of us like to know how to do. So.
All right, so that's what you're going to teach us right now. I would think that there's math involved in all of that and really difficult, calculations to get the curve to go right. Isn't that right? Really hard math?
It's not hard at all, or I wouldn't be able to do it.
Okay.
And it really comes down to just knowing the size of your quilt and the width of your border, and then just dividing it down in a manageable size segment to do a great paper folding exercise. And this will create a vine-based border that will be symmetrical on all sides of the quilt and turn the corners.
Okay, so I'm looking at, you've just laid out a quilt that's 76 by 76 inches.
Right.
Finished,
Finished
completely
size,
finished.
yes.
And the center square is 60 inches.
Exactly, right.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, is that all you need in that section?
Right, so I took 60 by 8 is the size of what this area that I'm designing for is, and I divided that in half, 30 by 8. That's still a big piece of paper.
Yes.
So I divided it in half again, and I have 15 inches by 8. And I'm going to do a really clever paper folding exercise to create that curve that's then just repeated.
Okay, so let's do that.
So here is my paper that is 15 by 8, and I've folded it in half, and now it's 7.5 by 8 inches.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So if we were to open this
Right,
up,
so-
it really is 15. So
right.
there's the 7. See,
Fold
you
it.
just tricked me just
Yeah,
then, because I went,
know.
that's a lot smaller than 15 inches, but it's not.
And we do the fold. In paper folding exercises, always pay attention to folds. The fold is going to be, in this situation, on this side, not top and bottom. And then I'm going to pick a measurement. And the measurement that I'm using is 2 1/8. And I take my ruler and I make a mark at 2 1/8 on the top right side
Right there.
and the bottom
right
left
there.
side.
Okay.
And then I find the center, and I connect those lines in a nice little curve, gentle
Okay.
curve.
Didn't have to use a fancy tool for that.
No fancy tool for that. And then I cut that apart, and I end up with my paper patterns. And I'm going to use this paper pattern for design and actually on the fabric border when I'm working on the border.
Okay, so let's go there.
Now for designing, really, really easy concepts. You don't have to be an artist per se to do some of these design contexts. So what I do...
We're going to need these again in a moment.
We are going to need those
Okay,
again.
I'll keep them close.
We're going to open our paper up, and I work in design with a base paper. And this paper is kind of a heavy artist drawing paper.
It is, I can hear that.
And I take my pattern, and I'm going to lay that on my 8-inch wide paper base, and I'm going to just lay this down, and I'm going to draw that curve on this paper.
And flip it over to do the other.
And flip it over to do the other side.
Okay.
And then my favorite design, and we're going to use those again in a minute too.
all right.
My favorite design, I guess, supply, and I'm going to need that.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. I'll
Now,
put that
now,
back.
now,
Yeah,
now,
yeah,
now.
yeah.
All
That's
right.
okay.
Want to go there?
There, that's perfect. I take tracing paper, and this is tracing paper, cheap tracing paper I get on a roll, and I just tear some pieces off, and I do what I call my rough sketch. And I use one of those inspirations from the early quilts, one of those borders, and I just take a pencil and I start doing a rough sketch. And I often say that some of my students look at this and they say, she's designing applique. It doesn't look very fancy. But what we do from this is some refinements.
Right. Well, one of the things I want to say here is that I think that a lot of people think they need to get to the refined, beautiful ending, and you're just sitting here sketching, going, I want some leaves there, I want a flower there. This is what I'm wanting to fill the space is, but you're not worried about it being refined at that stage.
Right, right.
Okay.
Don't worry about that at all. Then I see here I have an 8-petaled flower, and I take just regular copy paper and I do another great paper folding technique where you fold this, you make some marks with a little curve. When you open it up, you have a beautiful 8-petaled flower that I use for the refined design.
So you use the scissors to cut that
I
little
do,
curve,
yes.
and once it opens all up,
then this is what you
becomes,
get.
yeah, okay, wow, that's very
And
cool.
then another thing I use is the tracing paper again to get symmetry. So when you look at this, I sketched out a portion of this little bud. I just sketched half of it, folded my tracing paper in half and sketched the other side, and I get symmetry very easily. So there's no magic to it. It's
Right.
just very basic, easy techniques. And what I ended up with after doing some of those very simple design concepts is my refined sketch. And that starts to look a little bit more like, oh, she kind
Yeah.
of knows what she's doing maybe
You guys
here.
following this
So,
out there?
yeah,
Because you
think.
do know what you're doing,
a little
sweetheart.
bit now, yeah. But
Now-
it's easy. It's not hard at all.
Right. I'm looking at that one single line that we started with has now been expanded to what, a little bigger than a 1/4 inch or so?
Yeah, it's about 3/8 of an inch
So
is
you
what I
just
end up with
you just expanded
with that center vine. Then the really great thing about tracing paper, which I love, is my technique for the fusible applique is you trace on paperback fusible web, and you need to do it from the reverse image.
Right.
So all you have to do is turn, I'm going to just use the back side
Okay.
of this, I'm going to turn this over, and then I can draw all of my fusible edgings from that paper. I don't have to get any fancier than
Right,
that.
because I think most people that have used fusible know that it's usually translucent. So whenever you lay it over your pattern, and you're not having to double draw your pattern because you just flip it over.
Right. It's very, very easy. And these leaves are all the same. I just pick the one that's the most perfectly drawn, and I make my fusible patterns with that
Based on
one 5 times.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah, so
All
it's
right,
really cool.
All right, so what's next?
So next is we are going to go to the fabric. And this is just a little sample of the background fabric for the quilt that I've been working on for the class.
Right.
And so this is just your background fabric that has some lines marked on it. It has the 8-inch wide by the length, and then I take that paper pattern that I used in the beginning,
right,
and I'm going to take a fabric marking pencil, and I'm going to lay this on here, and it lines up perfectly to get that center vine curve that I'm going to work with on the quilt.
And I'm also going to say that we talked about this being 60 inches.
Right.
We're doing a little shorter
we're
sample
doing
for
half
the
of it.
yeah.
Basically,
half of it
it's 30 inches,
yeah.
so it's just a smaller version.
But you just keep going for the full 60 inches.
Exactly, and this technique is all about repeats. So I didn't have to draw 60 inches because it's just repeated over and over again.
Right, that's
so
great.
It's a great concept, definitely. Then we can actually start working on the border with our applique pieces. And this is an example of the type of a vine I use. So that center vine, it's a vine-based border. We are going to not use the fusible technique for that. I'm going to use what is called a straight stitch bias stem. Okay. And so I cut a piece of strip of fabric on the bias 1 inch wide, and I hand baste it in thirds, and I end up with this great 3/8 inch center vine, and then that is basted to that, centered on that line that we drew.
And the line that was drawn.
Yeah. And it's basted to the background. And then I have all of my fusible pieces ready to go, and actually there's a pattern.
Is it this guy?
Oh, it's right in front of me.
Oh, it's right in front of us.
Oh
Here
my
it is.
gosh, we're looking too hard for it. So then I can take this and lay it on top, and we'll get it, let's see if we can get it lined up on one of these here. There we go. And then I just start taking my applique, get our little thread out of there, and I start setting all of these beautiful applique pieces from what I designed myself.
Yep, you're doing something that I think people need to be aware of. Yes. You really do love your tweezers.
I do.
Because your fingers are not messing the fabrics up. You're able to very almost surgeon-like place things where you want them to
and we've already taken the paper off of the back of these, but we would just start setting every piece up just like that, and we end up with this fabulous border that you can design yourself very easily.
Well, and let's show them this border.
Oh, great.
Everybody get ready. 1, 2, 3. Ta-da. Woohoo, right?
Yeah.
Fabulous.
And it's a repeat, and the inspiration from the antique quilt is this little border. It doesn't look exactly the same, but it's similar, and it was my inspiration. It gave me something to work from.
All right, so how'd you like that? Okay.
Good.
But we're not done. I want to talk just briefly about the fabric for this, okay?
Yes.
So tell us what your thought process, because you use fabric in such a wonderful way.
Well, even though I consider myself a very traditional quilter, I love to use kind of fun, funky fabrics, and I often start with a focal fabric that I like the colors. And this would have been, the focal fabric that I used on this border, and it appears only a few times in the actual applique, some of the fussy cut areas, but it is a wonderful big floral print that has great colors.
And then you've just coordinated the fabrics.
And then I just coordinated,
yeah,
right.
Sure.
So I just pull in some fabrics that are fun to work with and end up with a great design.
That's great. All right, now we're moving down a little bit because the bird is like the big deal. Everybody loves to make your little bird, all right? So let's just look at your applique technique when you've got a little tiny item that has overlapping.
Right, so this is what I would call a complex unit. And I actually call this bird Cute Little Bird.
Cute little bird. It is a cute little bird.
Cute little bird. But he's not so cute, and he's got a lot of complexity to him. And what I like to do is I like to what I call build the bird off of the main background first.
Okay.
And what we're going to do to build the bird off of that is we're going to use parchment paper. And parchment paper is a release paper, and fusible doesn't stay to it permanently.
Okay.
And it's also a tracing paper. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw Cute Little Bird on the parchment paper, and then because this technique I talked about, you have to do it from the reverse image, I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to draw all of my fusible edgings from the reverse image. So here is all of the little fusible edgings drawn.
And I want to just point out that you do cut out the center of the bigger pieces, but you don't worry about it if it's smaller.
I always say if it's smaller than a dime, I should say if it's smaller than a nickel.
Oh, yeah, there you go. That'll work.
But smaller than a dime is what I've always said. But anything bigger, we don't want a lot of fusible in the quilt.
Okay.
You know, we want to reduce the amount of fusible. So anyway, we have drawn them, and then we're going to cut the edgings, and then we fuse these to the fabric. So you've got them fused to the fabric, and then they're all cut out and ready to be placed on the parchment paper or built ahead of time.
Okay.
And I've started to do that. So we've got his little feathers going.
Which one went first?
1,
okay.
2, 3,
all right.
4, and the little beak is really, in fact, I made extras of the beak because he gets lost very easily.
I can imagine.
And so I'm going to put the little beak down.
You've already removed the paper.
And I'm going to take my iron, I'm going to tap that. Oh, did he tap? Did I remove the paper? Oh, that's a good learning moment. That's a good teachable moment. He was one of the ones that I didn't remove the paper from.
That is so tiny. I'm glad you're having to do the paper.
I know. Aren't I this is very, very tricky to do here. Okay, now he'll stick. There we go.
But it's great that you're doing it right on the parchment paper so that you can see exactly the placement for all of these guys.
And then we're going to take the paper off of the little body of the bird, and we're going to place him down. But wait a minute. His eye is what we call reverse appliqué. So I've cut a hole in his eye, and I need a little eyeball for that.
You do need a little eyeball.
And I have some little fabrics that might be potential eyeball fabric.
Look at that.
And I auditioned some, and I've got a few that
so you got a little star in his eye, a little...
But I ended up liking this one.
Okay.
So I'm going to just tuck that under, and I'm going to place that. Isn't he cute?
That.
Okay. And then I'm going to, maybe a couple seconds is all you need to do this. What we're actually doing is we're fusing the underlays together, the little tuck unders. And then he has to cool a little bit. If you try to peel him off, he'll fall apart. But once he's cooled a little bit, let's make sure he's going to behave. And now you have this little unit that you can put right on the background, and you don't have to worry about those little tuck unders and stuff getting out of place.
Isn't that awesome?
And then here
Everybody?
he is.
Yeah.
Cute little bird.
Sue always has great information whenever she's on our show, and she has been on TQS a number of times. If you'd like to check out more of her shows, go to the search function.
Now, a little birdie, perhaps it was the one Sue just did, told us that we're going to have an amazing applique artist on the show next. Her name is Liuxin Newman. Alex, do you remember this episode?
Oh, nobody will forget this episode, ever.
You will not forget what you're about to see.
On the next Quilt Show, for 30 years, she did retail therapy at fabric stores on her lunch breaks. And now she is putting those fabrics to work in exciting ways.
Meet Pam Raby and learn how she incorporates the element of surprise into every project she works on. This one catches my eye because it's not predictable.
And it's the only one in that little area.
Plus, Pam is a big fan of single fold binding. And after you see what she does, you will be too. Don't tell me what this is. Single fold.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's so easy. I'm not fighting, I'm not gluing, I'm not begging, I'm not praying. I can simply sew that corner.
Then, what are the 3 threads every quilter should have in their toolbox? Find out.
It's a great day for creating. Join us.
Welcome back, everyone.
I just love Liuxin Newman. She is Australia's master applique artist, and she is a marvel at needleturn applique. I think myself and the audience were completely mesmerized the day Liuxin came to our studios. People were literally off their seats.
Are you ready to applique now?
Yes.
All right. Can I hand you anything here, like glasses?
Thank you. And this one, you might want me to show you, how I can make lines much narrower.
Okay.
To roughly 1 1/16 of an inch.
Ay, 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 ay. So
Lines,
how do you trim that? How do you know what to cut it?
Well, first, you don't, people say, oh, how hard it is. It's actually very easy. It doesn't need to be hard. What it does is, when I applique, I don't actually handle narrow seams. See, when I open this up, you can see how wide the seams.
Wow.
Yeah, it's actually a lot of seams. Then it's easy sewing. After that, if you can pass me the scissors, yeah. I don't trim seams narrow before I applique. After I applique, I trim it off. And that way, you can have very narrow seams without being fiddly sewing. See?
I think we're all speechless. I think that's kind of what's going on here.
After this, you will find you make room for more seams to go in easily with lines.
Just like that. I wish I had a picture of the audience. They're just like this. They're spellbound. All right.
Okay.
Now let's talk about points and tips, because yours are sharper than the average bear.
Yes. Now, really, I found basically to make points very sharp, I developed a few techniques. This is the general way of how to make points clean and sharp, but I found in my quest for perfection, I actually found we can make it much finer. On top of that, we can actually manipulate the tilt of the points. So they don't look like a plastic point, they look like a tip of a ribbon.
Okay, can you work with it right here? Okay. You need to pull it over to you.
I have a little trick in my book that I call it, now I named it as Chinese weaver.
Okay.
After you made the points, as usual, what I do is I make tiny little stitches from fold to fold on the top layer, only manipulate the layers of the points. And gradually, when you do that, I actually need to put my glasses on.
I can't imagine why.
Yeah. And then, you see, you have to fold to fold like this. As you weave towards the point, you start to pull the points. And if you manipulate the pulling, you can actually not only make the points pointier, you also actually make it, manipulate the tilting. See, I want the points tilting that way. The last loop in, I pull it.
Okay, you're not going anywhere till you do a dot.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, this is just amazing.
Thank you. Now, it's really very easy, and now people ask me.
Okay.
People ask me how hard it, how I just sit there and develop these techniques. I actually didn't try to develop anything. It's all a fix of all the mistakes I made, and now I call them techniques. See, when you make a fine dot, circle, it doesn't mean you have to make cut the fabric very tiny.
Do you care if we give you this color thread, or what do you want to do about that?
We'll just use this one.
Okay. Oh, now we love it. It's even better. She's going to use white thread on blue and black.
So you can see more clearly.
I don't think we're going to see. I think your work is just,
See, all I would do is you just fold fabric, and then turn. You see it have little pockets, but it doesn't matter. I can fix it later. So I reckon the worst mistake is
let me get this back down. Okay, there we go.
Is the fear of making a mistake. You make a mistake, then you find a fix. And then another one.
It's like you don't have any pressure going on here, Liuxin.
Okay, now I trim the seams after I've sewn. Then, you see, you can get rid of so much seams.
Now these are very nice scissors you have here.
Yeah, it's actually not expensive scissors. It's just one you get from pharmacy for nails.
Oh, really?
They are so sturdy. They cut fabrics really well. Those embroidery scissors look very fine, but they only cut threads well. Yeah, and then I turn it back and poke it. See, I make room, I trim seams after I sew, and then make room for more seams to go under. Now, after this,
we are spellbound. Is it working for you? Look at this.
It would be easier to be closer to me.
Okay, go.
Because my glasses doesn't work when it's too far. Okay, and you see, I didn't make stitches very close up or sew it very finely. Now, at best, you can call it a little knob.
Right.
However, see, after this, what I can do is I add stitches to sew another round of stitching, so the stitches look very finely one next to each other. You see what I mean? Mm-hmm. By adding stitches, using a different color, you can tell my needle are coming out between the last two stitches. I add a stitch in between the last two.
I just want everybody to appreciate, I know that people here in the audience can appreciate it, but the fact you're pulling this off in an absolutely not wonderful position is a miracle, my friend.
Thank you. And then...
And our camera guys get an A+ today.
And after this, you see, a little knob is made, and look at all the little pointy puckering. Mm-hmm. That's okay. Now you can watch. I use Chinese weaver.
Oh, to pull it all together.
Yes, I correct all the imperfection. So nothing is called a mistake. You never fail. You see. And there are more. I developed 10 techniques. So for all those 6 basic shapes, like fine lines and steep indentations, all these are in my book and backed with DVD. Show you exactly how to sew every bit. So.
Well, I'll tell you what. You just took my breath away. How about everybody in the audience? Yes.
Well, there you have it, everyone. Liuxin Newman is unforgettable as well as her work. I mean, her unique quilting tips and even her thimbles, you can see it all on the full episode if you search on The Quilt Show. She's known as the Thimble Lady.
Well, remember when Ricky was doing his 2-part series on how he made his award-winning Rhapsody quilt? Well, in that show, he gave some really good information on how he made his applique come to life. Take a look.
Now I've got some applique tips that I want to do for you. So let's start by looking at the stitching, okay? I have now put the iron to this. This is fused down on the background. This is just a sample, but I'm going to use the double blanket stitch. It is my favorite stitch on a sewing machine, and I really do have to brag on Bernina at this point because the Bernina double blanket stitch is unlike any others. It is beautiful. Here's what it does, Alex. That double blanket stitch, whenever it is stitching, it goes, first of all, it goes up, down in one spot. And then it goes left, right, and then it's going to go, that's 4.
Okay.
That's forward, back, forward, back, forward. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 5 threads. Left, right, forward, back, left, right, forward, back, forward, back, forward, left, right, forward, back, forward, back, forward. Do you know I know this stitch?
Oh, I know.
Millions of those stitches.
You can dance it.
Most sewing machines have a single blanket stitch that goes left, right, forward, left, right, forward, left, right, forward, left, right, forward, which means 2 threads, 1 thread, 2 threads, 1 thread. And some will have a double blanket stitch that does go left, right, which is 4, and then stitch, stitch. That's 2 stitches in a row, but it's 1 thread. Left, right, stitch, stitch. Left, right, stitch, stitch. So the edge is not getting built up on those machines. But on the Bernina, I am building up that stitch with so much thread that it makes the most beautiful, beautiful stitch. Okay, give me this, this quilt right here, because I really want to show what that stitch looks like when it's finished. Look at that beautiful applique stitch going all the way around and how much the edges are built up to create the designs in there. I absolutely love that. Okay, now let me show you how I actually do that stitch. There are some tricks, and I'm going to draw it before I actually stitch it. When we're stitching around this guy, the idea is that the side stitches all go into and bite into the fabric. My forward back stitches are right on the edge of the fabric, but the side stitches go into it.
Okay, so it's not on the background?
The forward back is in the background on the green, and then the bites go into, in this case, go into the orange. And I want those stitches to always point into the center of a circly round. So you may have to do a lot of pivoting to make a beautiful corner here.
So what do you do when you get to that crack in there?
Okay, so as I approach this little deep area here, this is what I want to happen. I'm going to take my little stitches, and I want right here, I want a stitch that goes this direction, a stitch that goes that direction, and a stitch that goes that direction. And at that point, I don't have any forward backs. I have a left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. And then I can start coming and going around again.
Okay, say how you do that again. How do you get rid of the forward back?
I'm going to show you when I stitch it for real. But let's keep coming around here, because this is going to be pretty easy to do. But now we come to a sharp point, and this is what I want to happen on a sharp point. Forward, back, left, right, coming to the point, and I'm not going to dial down the width. I'm going to leave it. And I'm just going to have that stitch almost go completely over, forward, back, forward, left, right, forward, back, forward, and I've come just past the tip, and I will pivot and go left, right, and I will start coming off of that. And I'm going to show you this on the sewing machine, but this is how you make a beautiful double blanket stitch point. Now, I'm going to use a stabilizer. I'm using Ricky Tim's Stable Stuff to put on the back of this.
Always?
I have to have a stabilizer.
Okay.
Because that's going to make beautiful, beautiful stitches.
That's where I fail.
All right. So I've got my double blanket stitch set up on the machine at 2.0 by 2.0.
Okay.
That is not the default setting. The default setting is a bigger stitch. More like what a hand-look blanket stitch might look, okay?
Okay, before we get started, this thing needs to be hooked up here.
Oh, okay, yeah, see there's a problem right there. You know what, I'm going to just take that out and rethread that.
I'll tell you something right now. If your machine is getting funky stitches, rethread both the top and the bobbin, and usually that will take care of it.
I agree. Now, the color of thread that I have in the bobbin here is not so critical to me, because I'm going to dial down the tension so that the bobbin tension is stronger, the top tension is weaker, okay? And now I'm going to start this double blanket stitch. One of the things that I like to do is take straight stitches to start. So I'm going to go to my straight stitch, I'm going to move the needle to the right, and now when I take the straight stitches, those straight stitches are going to go right along the edge of my applique. Are you with me?
Yeah.
Now when I go back to my double blanket stitch, which for Bernina it remembers my changes, so it's 2.0 by 2.0.
You can toggle back and forth.
I'm going to go up, down, and it goes right where I want it to go, and now it's going to continue to stitch that. I started with straight stitches because when I finish this applique, my double blanket stitch will go over the top of those straight stitches and secure it very nicely.
So Aaron, come in here so we can see on the corner, okay?
Okay, this is really critical that you see the front back stitches are going to in the blue, and the left rights are going on to the yellow. Now you can move your needle position to do this, but I like to leave it right in the middle so that I can see all the way in, and I'm using my open toe embroidery foot. For you Bernina people, that's a 20.
And actually, I justify my needle to the right, so.
Okay, so it's a little different for you. Now here's the deal, I'm coming to the point. Forward, back, forward, left, right, and I'm going to make one more forward, forward, and that is past my fabric. I'm going to pivot, and it's ready to go left, right, right on top of the stitches I just finished, and now I can pivot and start coming back over that. There is such a fine amount of fabric there that basically what I've done is I've completely covered it up with thread, okay? So that is one of the things that I find to be, it makes such a beautiful, finesseful finish. Now hang on just a second, I'm going to stop, take this out so you can just see what that corner looked like.
That is really nice.
Right. Now I'm going to come in and I'm going to do this sharp point right in here. So, oh, and of course I unthreaded the machine, but I like my little needle threader. And I'm going to start doing the same stitches coming into the corner. Now this is where it gets kind of exciting for me. Forward, back, left, right, forward, left, right, forward, back, left, right, forward, back, forward, left, right. Now watch, forward, back, forward, left, right. You see just a smidgen of the left of the corner. So I'm going to come forward again. Forward, back, forward, left, right. And if I pivot now, it would go forward because that's what it's ready to do. But I'm going to have Erin show my finger touching this screen. So come up here, Erin, and let me show on the screen. I'm going to touch the stitch. And by touching that stitch, it resets it to the beginning. Now let's come back down to the needle and watch it go up, down, left, right. All right, stay right there, Erin. I'm going to retouch the stitch. It's going to go up, down, left, right. And I was able to get that triad of stitches like I drew earlier, and I will show you what that looks like as soon as I pull this out. That is how I treat that inside corner of those stitches, and I think that's the kind of finesse that makes it look absolutely stunning. The other thing I want to tell you is that I have chosen to use contrasting colorful threads. Rather than buying expensive threads and trying to hide them and disguise them, I'm putting them on the quilt and making it a third color. So you've got your background fabric, you've got your applique color, and then you've got your edge color, which just gives a lot more excitement to it all. There you have it, everybody. That is my favorite way to do applique. I love the preparation process, but I love the end result where I actually feel like my edges, even though they're raw edges, are raised, and I hope you enjoyed that technique too.
It's that double blanket stitch, right, Ricky?
Absolutely.
Okay, well, thank you to everyone who's been on this show today, to Rosa Rojas, Sue Garman, Sue Nichols, and Liuxin Newman for giving their time and talents to help make us better appliqueurs in every way. You ladies rock. And Ricky, you're pretty good too.
Thank you. You guys have been fabulous. We have so many wonderful episodes. Go check them out on The Quilt Show because they're there available to you 24/7. You are a huge part of our lives, and thank you for being there with us. And everybody, remember, it's a new day every day.